You're still tuned to Arise News. We now join live coverage of PDP press conference that's taking place in Imo State.
This is in Imo State. And the federal government keeps mounting free and fair election. Free and fair election. How do you guarantee free and fair election when the people will not have the confidence to come out and vote? When the candidates are living in the bush, when the candidates will run away? The whole idea is to scare the opposition away, because the APC government knows in Imo State today knows that there is no Imo citizen who is sane that will vote for APC. And the only source of getting back to power to continue the mystery is by using violence. Therefore, we call on the federal government to intervene in Imo State without further delay. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to ask you something. Okay, go ahead. My name is Chidebere Bukomanat. What I want to know is that beyond this press conference, are there other legal strategic things the party will be taking to make sure that your demands are met? Yes, of course. We just don't go about issue press releases. After the last press release, the conference we did on this same matter, we wrote to the Commissioner of Police, we wrote to the Inspector General of Police, we wrote to the Director of SSS, we wrote for the Director General of SSS, we wrote to embassies. We further physically took steps to go to the office of the State Police Command to present our protest and worry. And even with all that, nothing seems to happen. We will continue to be lawful. That is very important. And agitate in a peaceful manner going forward. We will also make our further presentations to security agencies after this press conference. That, as law-abiding citizens, that is the much we can do. And we call on you pressmen to join in this shout. Because when the party shouts, when the guns, when the bullets start flying, you never know who hits. In many circumstances, innocent people have been mowed down. And we keep saying that this Ebubago thing, is it serving the purpose? And everybody in Imo State knows. Today, as you walk through the streets of Imo State, you do not know who is a policeman. You don't know who is a no-go man. They are all wearing blacks, wearing beads, wearing all kinds of stuff. So you don't even know who is who on the election day. Because we also know that effect policemen are being prepared to appear on that election day. So how do we know who this security, who to respect as security officer or not? That is why we are asking the federal government, the Inspector General of Police, to come into Imo State and sanitize the security system if election will already hold in Imo State at all. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
So, my name is Jude Owamanam. I write for Daily Trust newspapers. So, after your last press conference here, you led a protest to the Commissioner of Police. And you have just said that you have written several letters to several agencies and even international organizations. Now, are you telling us that all these things you have done, nobody has replied you? That's my question, sir.
I am saying authoritatively, when we led the delegation, in fact, we had agreed to do a protest march from here to the office of the Commissioner of Police. By that morning, we assembled. The police commissioner sent word that he will not tolerate a protest. Rather, he should send a delegation. We obeyed and sent a delegation. When we got there, the Commissioner of Police was not on hand to receive us. He detailed his deputy commissioner and other senior officers who we met, addressed them, handed them over the document. They told us that they will look into it. As I speak with you, they are still looking into it. There is no correspondence to us whatsoever from any quarters of government to say, yes, this is what I do. And what type of statement are you looking at? You know, since this magnitude of mayhem was unleashed at Chijine's house, is it the State Commissioner of Police, the DSS, the No Security Agency has made any comment to any effect? Nobody has been arrested
And we are saying we are not even aware whether there was a file open to investigate the matter. That is our dilemma. And that is why we are shouting out. And that is the only instrument we have, as an opposition party is to shout. We are not shouting that anything may change. We are shouting, let the world know the truth. And let us not continue to be deceived by this mounting free and fair election. How can you have free and fair election when the people of Orlu cannot come out to vote? When people are running into the bush, even we can't even go and campaign. How can you have fair election when the candidates do not have opportunity to market themselves to the voters? It is a shame. A little amendment that's need to go to the press. It was a technical glitch, and we have been requested to go back and read the press statement, please.
People's Democratic Party, Imo State, February 17, 2023. Text of World Press Conference on threats to the 2023 general elections in Imo State, sponsored armed attacks on PDP candidates and members, and abuse of state power by the APC-led regime in Imo State. Good afternoon, gentlemen of the press. Welcome to the Secretariat of Imo State PDP, and thank you so very much for your prompt response to our invitation. The People's Democratic Party in Imo State has been upfront with you as members of the Fourth Estate of the realm about the threats and challenges which bedevil our democracy in Imo State. Today's briefing is in furtherance to our abiding commitment to strengthening democracy and ensuring that this reign of iron fist tyranny in Imo State is not allowed to consume the entire state. In the past 3 years, Imo State has been under the rulership of an APC regime, which emergence till date remains a mystery to the people. Through a judicial coup, a man who came forth in the 2019 governorship election became the governor of the state. And since this travesty occurred, there has been a sustained effort by the unelected and anti-people regime to dismantle all democratic institutions in the state. Just recently, Imo people woke up to hear that the state assembly had been railroaded by the executive arm into voting against the autonomy of the local government, the judiciary, and even the legislature itself. This brings home the reality of a conscripted political space in Imo, where the innermost intentions of the governor is to erect an empire for himself and convert the free citizens of the state to his conquered vassals and serfs. Imo State today occupies the top positions in all the indices of social misery in Nigeria. To achieve this, political dissent has now been criminalized in Imo State. Rule of law has become stifled, and Imo people today live in the throes of dictatorship, horror, and pervading atmosphere of the unknown. As the 2023 elections draw closer, the harrowing experience in Imo State has only become worse. Candidates, vocal members, and prominent leaders of our party have been targeted and attacked in the most gruesome ways. In the last 1 week, the chairman of our party in Obak ward in Mbitoli local government area has been shot dead. But is recuperating, by unknown gunmen who laid ambush at his residence and opened fire at him upon his return in the evening. A judge in Uguta was dragged out from the courtroom and slaughtered like a goat. Another courtroom in Imo State was razed. The member representing Orlu State constituency in the House of Assembly, who also is the candidate of our party for that constituency, has had his house burnt to ashes. All this happened just in the past 1 week. And as we have just been told, 5 persons have been beheaded at Omololo Kigwe and their heads displayed at the market square in a single day. Gentlemen of the press, for the third time in less than 2 months, there was another armed attack precisely on February 7th, 2023, at the residence of our candidate for Idato Federal Constituency, Barrister Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere. Recall that on December 23rd, 2022, the convoy of Ikenga was attacked in Idato as he returned home from Abuja, and he narrowly escaped death. When this happened, we took appropriate steps to ensure that justice was done. We wrote the security agencies, but to our shock, no arrest has been effected till date. We are not even certain if the authorities ever opened an investigation into that matter. On January 14th, 2023, Ikenga's residence in Umuke Guakokwa witnessed another bloody attack that left 3 persons, including his uncle, dead, about 32 vehicles burned to ashes, and buildings leveled to the ground with explosive devices. In the aftermath of that, we wrote the security agencies again, took a protest to the Commissioner of Police in Imo State, and called off all political activities just to draw attention to the infamy and to get the authorities to act. But till this day, we are not aware if that attack, in which innocent Imo citizens were murdered, was ever investigated. And no arrest has been made. Not even a single statement has been issued by any of the security agencies in Imo State about the attack. Yet again, on February 7th, 2023, the terrorists who, according to eyewitnesses, rode in a convoy of vehicles that included an armored personnel carrier, returned to the very same residence of Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, and even with more audacity, attacked the building, all in the desperation to kill our candidate. It becomes unacceptable and reprehensible that till this moment, no security agency in Imo State has reacted to all these attacks. All of these have enriched our suspicion that the attacks on Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere are being masterminded by agents of the APC regime in Imo State. The falsehoods, the incoherent tales, and the contradictory stories being peddled by Senator Hope Uzodimma and the agents of his decadent regime only strengthen our conviction. Gentlemen of the press, let us now play for you the CCTV footage of the last attack at the residence of our candidate, so that you could come to terms with our position that when the witch cries at night and the baby dies in the morning, it is unnecessary to ask who killed the baby. The footage is everywhere, and we can send it to you pressmen, where you see policemen in uniform attacking the residence of Ikenga, terrorizing everybody there, and all of that. We'll make it available to you shortly. About 7 days ago, a lady conveying campaign materials of our candidate, Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, was intercepted at the airport and arrested along with the airport taxi driver on accusation of being in possession of INEC materials. They are still in the dungeon of the Imo State Police Command. It is important we display the campaign materials in question so that Nigerians can see the level which the APC regime in Imo State has descended in its fight against Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere. Gentlemen of the press, this is the campaign material that Ikenga was bringing through a lady into Imo State. It contains instruction on how to learn how to vote Ikenga Imo, PDP, and all of that. This is the convention. This is the tradition. This is what every other candidate in Imo does. There is nothing criminal about it. It doesn't belong to INEC. It belongs to political candidates who want to direct and enlighten the populace about how to vote them. As a matter of fact, this same thing has been done by the Accord candidate here. You can see it clearly. This same thing has been done by the Labour Party candidate. You can see it very clearly. This same thing by the Labour Party itself as a party has also done it. In the same constituency where Ikenga comes from, the Labour Party candidate has his own. It's in circulation. This is an advertorial in Nigerian Horn newspaper, and this is Labour Party candidate for Kigwe. This is also for Kigwe, and his APC candidate for Kigwe. So this confirms that this is what candidates do in Nigeria, in Imo State, and nobody has been arrested and nobody has been tortured, but the people who were bringing this material into Imo State to enlighten the electorate have been arrested and for 7 days have been tortured at the Imo State Police Command. What Nigerians must know is that these wicked attempts to eliminate Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere by all means began immediately he exposed the widespread and mind-boggling compromise of the INEC register. This is what is now known as the Omuma magic. an appointee of the regime of Senator Hope Uzodinma, particularly Wanchina Sawaneri, had telephoned Ikenga and threatened to deal with him whenever he would be sighted in Imo State. Since then, Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere has come under a series of attacks which have gulped human lives and consumed assets valued in billions of naira. For us as Imo PDP, it is deeply worrisome that despite our demand for the arrest and prosecution of the said China Sawaneri, who earlier betrayed the intention of the APC-led regime of Senator Hope Uzodinma to attack Ikenga through telephone threats, the federal government and security agencies have never budged. More worrisome is the fact that despite our calls for the disbandment of a Bubago security outfit, which has been implicated in most of the attacks in the state, nothing has been done by the federal government and security agencies. It is now clear that PDP members and candidates are generally endangered in Imo State, and the current security leadership in the state cannot provide a neutral and fair atmosphere for a democratic electoral contest to take place. Already, our party has intercepted intelligence about a plot to whisk away most prominent leaders, members, and candidates of the party ahead of the general elections. In view of that, we demand the immediate redeployment of all heads of security agencies in Imo State. Further, the federal government should establish an independent panel of inquiry to unravel the Imo killings and unearth the real identities of those behind the so-called unknown gunmen in Imo State. Imo State has now become like the Hobetian pre-political state in which human life is nasty, solitary, brutish, poor, and short. Our party is greatly pained by this situation. Therefore, we call on the Chief of Army Staff, Inspector General of Police, and Director General of the State Security Service to intervene without any further delay. The sponsors and perpetrators of the attacks on Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere must be arrested and brought to book with the urgency of now. President Muhammadu Buhari should realize that his promise of free and fair elections to Nigerians has become a mirage in Imo State in view of the existence of state-backed militia groups and state-sanctioned attacks on opposition figures. Finally, we urge Idato people, PDP members, and overwhelming supporters of Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere to stand strong and never allow the forces of darkness prevail over their land. They should never yield to threats and intimidations of the enemy. They should mobilize and come out en masse on February 25th to vote Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere so as to give Idato Federal Constituency the quality and enviable representation it deserves. Thank you very much for your kind and gracious attention, and may God bless Imo State. My name is Collins Oprozo, the State Publicity Secretary, Imo State, PDP.
Okay, gentlemen of the press, that is our press statement designed to draw your attention to what is happening in Imo State once more. It's quite necessary at this point in time that we draw the attention of the world to the anarchy, the terror have been unleashed on Imo citizens, and particularly the opposition in Imo State. This is not to say that things may change, but let the world hear, and as we have clearly stated by the public. We need the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the necessary security agencies, the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of SSS, the Chief of Army Staff, to look into Imo State, to call their staff to order, to question their staff and ask them, what is happening in Imo State? Is it not high time somebody asks a question, what is happening in Imo State? Has Imo State been abandoned to one man to rule and do as he wishes? People can't go home. Most people live in the bush these days. And the federal government, the president is promising free and fair election. How can you dream, think, or contemplate free and fair election when the people are afraid? Imo people may not come out to vote. The candidates are not even going around marketing themselves. And if you try to market yourself, they arrest you, as is evidenced by this particular arrest of people who are conveying electoral education material. Because when you are doing this, teaching people how to vote, you are helping the INEC to do the needful, to educate people, this is the correct way to vote. And yes, such people are arrested. And somebody is somewhere saying there will be free and fair elections, when the election is already being compromised in Imo State. For the avoidance of that, the APC-led government in Imo State knows clearly unequivocally that they have been rejected by Imo people. And they are not likely to get one vote. No same person in Imo State will give APC any vote. And that's why they have resorted to a terror, to scare away people from the voting areas so that on that day they do whatever they wish. That's why they are planning to arrest, even me, and other opposition elements. They said they will arrest all of us a few days to the election. But there is no level of intimidation, cowering that will stop us from doing our civic responsibility by saying, please, let there be free and fair contest in the next coming general election. I want to thank you all of you for coming. I am Ray Manga, the State Secretary of PDP Imo State.